It is week 44, and when I talk about week 44, I am talking about EconoChat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. And today we will be talking something that we've spoken about before, but there needs to be more elaboration on certain things, I believe. And looking at our quarter-to-quarter growth in regards to GDP, Mr. Daniel Steinman, it looks promising. It does look promising.
Elzeby, last week I was in South Africa, and it's a madhouse. Now, granted, I was only in Gauteng, and Gauteng is a bit of a madhouse in overdrive.
Yes,
Definitely. It's not your typical Cape Town or Durban or PE laid-back scenery, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You can see there's an economy on the mend.
Definitely, you can certainly feel that it is a business hub.
But you could also, during COVID, you could see when the activity was down, and now you can just see its activity everywhere.
Yeah,
you know, I was driving on that N1 highway between Pretoria and Johannesburg. Do you know how scary it is when you're going 110, 120, and there's a 33-ton truck either side of you, and they don't fall behind. They stay with you all the way.
Yeah.
You know, so I was really under the impression of how the economy is on the mend, how it's revived, how busy it is, and then I started reminiscing about what's going on in Namibia and trying to make a comparison, you know, a reasonable comparison or a sensible comparison, I think is the word. And I looked at the figures about 3 weeks ago. The Namibia Statistics Agency, they released the GDP growth figures for the second quarter. Now, you referred to, we have spoken about this earlier, and you're 100% correct. I spoke about first quarter GDP growth about 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite astonished to see that second quarter GDP growth was also very good. I think in the first quarter, and you can correct me here, I think it was 5.6%. What we say quarter on quarter measured annually, so compared to the same quarter in 2021, and I think the second quarter was 5.3%. You know, so very, very good growth figures. And what I've explained to you in the past, Elzeby, and to the listeners, is that if you want average annual growth of more than 5%, it means that you have to have 4 consecutive quarters where the growth is above 5% every quarter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the figures get eroded by weak performance. I mean, this is common sense. Anybody, all our listeners will understand. Being bright young people, they will understand what I'm saying now. So you need a full year of more than 5% growth in every quarter. And now you will see on that little note I've made you, I've written there in very big letters, inflation. With a big angry question mark behind it. So let me explain why is this. If we had 5.6% growth in one quarter and 5.3% growth in another quarter, we're looking at about 5.4% growth on average for the 2 quarters. So we only need to grow 5.5% and 5% again for the next 2 quarters, for the third and the fourth quarter, then we are guaranteed that the annual growth will be above 5%.
Yeah.
Until about 3 months ago, when the inflation started showing the upward trend, we were looking at 3.8%, then 4.2%, then 4.6% inflation. This is monthly inflation. And then suddenly, 2 months ago, it shot up to 6.8%. And now the latest figures that we only got this week, 7.3%. Now that is not good. That is a bad sign. And why is that? Because you can see from the statistics that I mentioned that inflation is now higher than the GDP growth. And what does it mean in practice? There's a very big fancy word for it. It's called stagflation. And this happens when your inflation grows faster than your economy.
Yeah.
So on the surface, everything appears to be growing, but you always need to look at the balance between GDP growth and inflation. And when we come back from our short break, I will dig into inflation a little bit more.
Okay. Need I say more? Let's go for that short break.